Okay, this is part 3 of 3 and our final video tutorial for my first Photoshop project. And the last thing we're going to do is add a background. And you can add any background you want. I tell my students to be creative, be serious, be silly, whatever they want on this. So what we're going to do is you're going to go to your top layer, which is called Big Mama, and you're going to add a new layer above that. And we're going to call it landscape. Okay, and with the landscape layer added, you're going to go ahead and do a Google search and find any image that you would like to use for this landscape layer. And I tell my students when they're searching images to hit search tools and go to large sizes. That doesn't guarantee a high resolution, but it sure does help. So if you're always searching large images, you have a greater chance of a good resolution. All right, now you want to find an image that is going to make sense for your dinosaur. So, and think about the way they're seated. Like this is a beautiful image right here, but it doesn't make sense because they're not going to fit on that pier. Also, this is kind of looking down, so they wouldn't really be grounded on this unless we put them way, way back in the distance. So you want to find an image where they're going to be able to sit up front and look somewhat grounded. So this one right here might work. This one might work. This one might work right here. So I'm going to go ahead and look through these and find one that works. Okay, I found this beach scene and I'm going to go ahead and use this for my dinosaurs. And I want to talk just a little bit about fair use rights of images and as they relate to education and learning. So images that are copyrighted, you're not allowed to just take them and use them like they're your own. However, if you're using them for education purposes, you're not using them for resale or to make capital gains on them in any way. You're pretty safe with that. The fair use laws have become very complicated, especially on YouTube channels. I've been researching that a little bit, but I think for your purposes, for learning Photoshop and using these images for that purpose, I think you're pretty safe for that. All right, so I found this image. So I already opened it in Photoshop and I'm going to copy it. So to select the whole thing, the shortcut we use is Command A, and that selects all. Command A. Now I'm going to copy it by hitting Command C. Okay, and now I'm going back to my dinosaur. I'm on that landscape layer, and I'm going to hit Command V. Now this is a very large image, so it may cover quite a bit. Actually, it's not too bad. So it's similarly sized to my 4x6 that I have here. So, but it's not perfectly sized. So I don't want any of this background showing. So I'm going to Command T. That's a transform. You'll notice part of the picture is off because it's not exactly in the same proportion. So if I want to get that palm tree in there, I can do that. And I'm going to hold Shift as I pull from the corner only. All right, we talk a lot, my students and I, about not distorting images or text unless there's a really good reason for it. And that's rare, to be honest. So I really try to tell them, because it's a common thing amongst middle school kids to distort just because they want it to fit the page. And so they'll distort it. And it doesn't look great. So we talk a lot about not distorting text and images for the best result. Okay, so I'm holding Shift and pulling from the corners only, and that will prevent any distortion. Now in Photoshop, if you pull from the sides, even though you're holding, or the top or bottom, even though you're holding Shift, it will distort. So it has to be the corners only. And if you're used to Photoshop Elements, which is a different program, as you know, if you're used to that, you can pull from those sides and top and bottom. So that's kind of a learning curve that you need to get over, that in Photoshop you must pull from the corners only holding Shift. Okay, and I'm going to come up here and accept my transformation. Okay, now you'll notice that since that's the top layer, it's blocking my dinosaurs. So if I turn the visibility of that off, you can see my dinosaurs are still there. And this is where we're going to use a layer mask. So what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to go to your bottom layer, which is your line drawing layer, and using the magic wand, you're going to select the area just outside of the dinosaurs. So you'll notice that I have my selection, marching ants is what we call those sometimes, and it's just outside of the dinosaurs. Now I'm going back to my landscape layer. I will turn it back on, and I'm going to click on this little icon right here on my layers panel, and that is the layer mask icon. And let me click on it, and then I'll explain what that's doing. Okay, so you'll see that when I clicked on that layer mask, my dinosaurs all of a sudden appeared. And if you look over here on the layer with the landscape, you'll notice it has another image with it, another icon, and that's the layer mask. And what a layer mask does, if you think of it as kind of a layer above that layer, it allows you to mask off areas that you don't want showing on that layer, while at the same time allowing other areas to show. Well, you can look at the little icon and you can pretty much guess that the black areas block that image, where the white areas allow it to show. So since this, you can see this is in the shape of our dinosaurs here, it's blocking on that landscape image just that area. All right, and that is what a layer mask does, and a layer mask, because of that, is very useful. All right, now my dinosaurs look a little floaty there. They look like they should probably come down onto the sand a little bit more. So what you can do is you can still adjust this landscape layer, but you need to unlink it. So you see this little chain link here between them. Unlink that. Now right now you're on the layer mask. You need to click over to the other side and make sure you're on the actual landscape, and then you're going to Command T again, and you can increase this size. Do whatever you need to do to get those dinosaurs looking grounded. And again, of course, I'm holding Shift as I'm doing any kind of sizing like that. Okay, so I think that looks a little bit better. They look a little bit more grounded. And I'm going to show you one more little trick with this that will help ground those dinosaurs. And we're going to do that right here on our landscape layer again. I'm going to go to my default black and white. Let me just move this over. Okay, so my default black and white, so I have black on the top, and I'm going to find my paintbrush, which is right here. I'm going to click on that, the brush tool. And when I click over here, you'll notice that you have different brush options. I just want to be on my basic brush, and this brush right here has a 100% hardness, but if I click on this one, it has a 0% hardness. So I want a 0% hardness brush. You can do that by clicking on it, or you can just drag this down. Either way, we want 0% hardness, and I'm not going to worry about the size right now. So I'm going to click off of that. I do want to play around with my opacity and flow though. I'm going to take those down to around 50%. Okay, so I have a soft brush, around 50% opacity, 50% flow. And if I bring it down here, it's pretty tiny. So this is where you want to use your brackets on your keyboard. So the right bracket will make the brush size larger, and the left bracket will make the brush size smaller. This is really all I ever use for brush sizing. I hardly ever come up here and assign it a value, because I find that I can see what brush size I need best by looking at what I'm working on here, my file. Okay. Now I'm going to just, with this soft and low opacity, I'm going to just paint a little soft shadow underneath these guys. And what's nice about this is you don't have to worry about it actually getting on the dinosaurs, because our layer mask is allowing that part to be hidden. So it's only going to go on the landscape. And you don't want to overdo that. So that's about all I'm going to do with that. That was pretty easy, And that really helps it look just a little bit more professional, not so much like it's your very first Photoshop project. Okay, so that's it. You have an awesome looking picture. Don't forget to save it, and if you wanted to print this, it's in a 4x6. It's at a 300 resolution, so you should get a nice crisp print. And I hope you enjoyed this video and this whole series with your very first Photoshop project. And please like if you enjoyed it and subscribe, and I will be posting more videos shortly.